Well, hey there, guys. Greetings and salutations. Welcome to the John Campea YouTube channel. Obviously, today is not the John Campea Show. We're not going to be doing regular John Campea shows this week. I am, of course, however, still John Campea. Good to have you guys here. And as you can see, I am not in the studio. I'm not even in the LA area. I am in Caesar's Palace in Las Vegas for the 2024 CinemaCon. I'm very excited about CinemaCon this year. A lot of stuff going on. Hello to everybody in the live chat. Thank you for joining me right now. Apparently, there's supposed to be an eclipse happening here soon. It's still bright outside. I'm looking out the window, still kind of bright. I'll let you know if it starts to get dark outside. But I think I am right. Like, today's supposed to be the eclipse, or did it happen already? Anyway, good to have you guys here. Oh, it's saying it's not for another 40 minutes. Okay, well, maybe it'll start to get dark once that comes around. So it's open mic right now. I figured I would do an open mic because I haven't done one for about a week, so I thought I'd do one this morning and kind of give a little bit of a preview of what we've got coming up at CinemaCon this year that I'm actually very, very excited about. So let's not waste any time. Now, here's what we're going to do. We are going to do, CinemaCon. We're going to do going to give you a preview of CinemaCon, but it's still a regular open mic. I'm going to be taking your questions. Now, there are two different ways to get a question addressed on open mic. One is to use the tip link that's down in the description below. That's at streamelements.com/JohnCampea/tip. That's for if you have a question when the show isn't live. Any 24 hours during the day, except for when we're live, you can send in a tip question. We'll get around to it on the next open mic. Or if you are watching live right now, and you got to be watching live, you can use the super chat feature to send in a question. And as long as your topic or question is appropriate to be used on our show, I will address it here. So that's what we're going to be doing here. So let's not waste any time, shall we? Let's get over to the preview. We're just going to take a few minutes here and run down the schedule at CinemaCon and what I am expecting we're going to see, what you guys can expect to see from us as far as live streams and all that kind of stuff. So yes, let's get to it here, shall we? We're going to start things off with today. Now, there's already been a bunch of stuff today that has happened. But it's a lot of like forum stuff and whatever. The things that movie fans are actually going to be concerned about is the presentations. And tonight at 6:15, like the convention's already started, but the big studio presentations start tonight with Universal Studios doing a presentation. And as a part of that presentation, they are doing a full screening of the upcoming Emily Blunt, Ryan Gosling film, Fall Guy, which I am very stoked about. Now, I don't expect them to have a lot of a presentation because it's 6:15 to 8:45, which means it's a 2.5 hour window they have. I think Fall Guy is a little over 2 hours, so they'll probably have about 20 minutes of a presentation for Universal. So I'm not expecting a hell of a lot from it. They'll probably give us a couple of quick glimpses at a few of their upcoming projects. I'm not quite sure which ones. Again, they only have a little bit of time, but the Fall Guy presentation I'm very excited about. I remember they first showed us they showed us about 10 or 15 minutes of Fall Guy last CinemaCon, which is the first I'd really heard of it. And they showed us about 10-15 minutes. Emily Blunt, Ryan Gosling came out on stage, and it looked like really exciting. It looked really fun. And then we've seen some trailers for it. I think the trailers have looked great. And so tonight, finally going to see it. So what can you expect from us? Well, the presentation goes, the movie's supposed to end at 8:45. Now, we will then be going, Anne and Ray and I are then going to go over for about 30 minutes to the opening night dinner reception and party because free food and free drinks. So we're going to run right from the Fall Guy screening over to the opening night dinner reception and party and be there for about a half hour. And then we're going to come back to the room and do our live stream tonight about the Universal presentation and about Fall Guy. So very excited to talk about that. It's going to be late for you guys on the West Coast because it's probably going to be like 9:30, 10 p.m. Los Angeles time, which means it's going to be like 1 a.m. New York time. So if you want to stay up and join us live, come do it. If not, It'll still be up on the channel. You can watch it tomorrow if you guys liked. All right, let's get back over now to the schedule. So that's today. Let's go over to Tuesday, shall we? So it starts off with a continental breakfast, then a couple of panels, data, talking to movie theater. Remember, CinemaCon is a movie theaters owner convention. So a lot of the panels, a lot of the keynotes are specifically targeted towards movie theater owners. So that's fine. All right, so state of the industry and a special presentation from Crunchyroll. So that's going to be from 9 to 11:15. Some people think Crunchyroll is going to show a little bit of a movie that they've got on. I don't follow Crunchyroll a lot, so I don't know what might be coming out on Crunchyroll, but that's going to be happening at 9 a.m. tomorrow morning. Ray's going to that. Ray is very excited about anything Crunchyroll, so Ray will be at that. I will probably still be sleeping at 9 a.m. Then the hospitality lounge is open. Then the trade show opens at about 11 a.m. I'm going to walk the floor on that. Then they're going to serve lunch. Then at 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. tomorrow is the Warner Brothers presentation of their movies coming up this year. Now, they're not telling us anything. It's only a 2-hour presentation window, 4 to 6. So I don't think they're going to give us a full screening of a movie. They're probably going to show us 20 minutes of about 5 different movies or something like that. So, and then we will, of course, after that is done from 4 to 6 p.m., probably around 7 p.m., we will go live with our Warner Brothers presentation follow-up. All right. And then 6:45, 9 p.m., it's the big party. That's afterwards. Okay, so that's tomorrow. Today, Universal and Fall Guy. Tomorrow, the Warner Brothers presentation. That ends at 6 p.m., which means we're probably going to go live at around 7 p.m. Then let's move on to Wednesday. On Wednesday, of course, buffet breakfast. Angel Studios has a big presentation. The trade show. Then at 9:30 a.m., Lionsgate does its presentation from 9:30 a.m. to 11 a.m. That's only an hour and a half, so I'm not expecting any screenings per se. But again, Lionsgate never disappoints at CinemaCon. They always show us like 10, 15, 20 minutes of a bunch of their movies. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they've got coming up. So that's going to be at 9:30 a.m. to 11 a.m. So probably around lunch, we'll do a live stream of the Lionsgate presentation and talk about everything we saw at the Lionsgate presentation. Okay. Then hospitality, lunch at the trade show, industry think tank, and then we've got Universal again. So Universal is tonight. They're going to talk a little bit, but most of it is just for Fall Guy. Wednesday, they are doing an actual full presentation, a 2-hour presentation from 4 to 6 p.m. Universal Pictures and Focus Features invite you to a special presentation of all the stuff that they've got coming up. Hosted by Donna Langley, the chairman of NBC Universal Studios Group. She's here every year, and she is a great on stage. She's got great on stage skills. She's really good. She's always fun to listen to, so I'm looking forward to that. So Universal tomorrow is both, or Wednesday, I should say, is both, what's that? What we say was in the morning there. Lionsgate and a full Universal one. So we're getting a little bit of Universal tonight and a little bit of Universal on Wednesday. And then the studio theme dinner party. And then from 8:30 to 10:30, there's a new comedy called Babes. And they're going to be doing a full screening of Babes. Last year, they did a little small comedy called Joyride, and it's my favorite comedy since 40-Year-Old Virgin. So we'll see if Babes can live up to that as well. All right. Then we move on to Thursday. Thursday could be some big stuff. Thursday, we've got seminars, more seminars, breakfast. Then at 10 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. is Paramount Pictures. Paramount for the last 3-4 years has been one of the best studio presentations at CinemaCon. They always do a great job with their presentations. You know, last year they gave us a big look at Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem. They gave us a big look at a bunch of their things. They did the full screening of Top Gun Maverick, 2 years ago. They always do a great job. I'm expecting to see a lot of really, really good things. Probably a lot of Sonic 3. I'm pretty sure we're going to see a lot of Sonic 3. And maybe the rumor is that Hayden Christensen, good Canadian kid, Anakin Skywalker, is going to be doing the voice of Shadow. We'll know Thursday if that's confirmed and true, because he might come out on stage. So I'm expecting they're probably going to show us a good 15, 20 minutes of Sonic, plus a bunch of other things that they have coming as well. So we'll see about that. All right, so that's from 10 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. Obviously, we'll do a live stream after that's done to talk about their presentation. Hospitality Lounge, Filmmaker Luncheon with John M. Chu. And then from 2:30 to 2:45, 2 hours and 15 minutes, we have the Walt Disney Studios presentation. I am expecting to see a lot at the Disney presentation. Obviously, the thing I am most excited about seeing is Deadpool 3 footage. Now, I know Rob has thought, and for those of you asking and wondering, no, Rob's not here this year. For whatever reason, his press application got denied. His press application has been approved the last couple of years in a row, and for whatever reason, I think Rob said he might have messed up his application. Anyway, so Rob's not here this year, but Rob believes that they're going to show us a full screening of Deadpool 3. I do not believe they're going to show us a full screening of Deadpool 3. There's just not enough time. I don't think there's enough time. But what they can do is show us like 15, 20, 25, 30 minutes of Deadpool 3. Remember, a couple of years ago at CinemaCon, they literally showed us the first 30 minutes of Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. The first 30 minutes were the best part of the movie. But anyway, they showed us like 30 full minutes. They also showed us like the first 25 minutes of Buzz Lightyear, which didn't turn out to be very good, but the footage they showed us was great. So I'm expecting that they're going to show us a good 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 minutes of Deadpool 3, which I'm totally stoked about. Obviously, we've also got Inside Out 2. They're probably going to show us a bunch of Inside Out 2 and a lot of other stuff they got going. I expect maybe... Now, some people say, like, well, will they show you some stuff of Agatha or Ironheart or whatever? No, because remember, this is a movie theaters convention. It's not a streaming convention, right? The movie theaters owners don't care what Disney has coming out on Disney Plus. Like, they don't care about that. What they care about is what's coming to movie theaters. Now, I've got a few people in the live chat asking Fantastic Four stuff. I doubt it. They haven't even started filming. Now, what is possible? Here's what's possible. I've not heard about this. I have no reason to believe that this will happen. But what is possible, while there is no footage of Fantastic Four to show, it's possible they may bring out the cast. They might bring out the cast. And here's where it could get interesting. Could get it. Remember, I've got no people telling me this is happening. I have no insider information on this. I'm just saying, what could make this interesting is that for Fantastic Four, they bring out the cast, and then they bring out their actor playing Doctor Doom, playing Victor Von Doom. That would explode. I mean, if Disney were to do that, it would explode. Now, for all we know, Doctor Doom isn't going to be in the new Fantastic Four, and for all we know, they haven't got a new Doctor Doom. But if they do, I believe there is a possibility they'll announce him and bring him out at CinemaCon to get the movie theater owners excited and stuff like that. Other things we could see is Mufasa is another thing that we could be seeing. Snow White, but that seems to be on the back burner right now. So, yeah, a lot of stuff going on for Disney. So that's from 2:30 to 4:45, which means we'll probably go live on Thursday for the Disney presentation wrap-up stream at about probably 5:15, 5:30 that day. And then I don't think we're going to do anything to cover this, but a little bit. This Thursday is the last day of the convention. From 7:30 to 9:15 is the Big Screen Achievement Awards, where they hand out a bunch of the awards. This year, they're giving the awards to Star of the Year, Lupita Nyong'o, CinemaCon Vanguard Award to Amy Poehler, Director of the Year to Sean Levy, the Deadpool 3 director, which makes me think he's here and he'll be doing a presentation for Deadpool. Breakthrough Performer of the Year, Joseph Quinn. Award of Excellence in Acting, Dan Stevens. Rising Star of 2024, Adriana Greenblatt. Viola Davis Trailblazer Award for Gina Davis. And the Cinema Icon Award is going to Dennis Quaid. So that's going to be happening then. And then from 9:15 to 11 p.m., the big blowout after party is happening, and where all the studio people, directors, actors who were there doing presentations are at that party. So that could be a lot of fun. Now, Anne and Ray right now are down on the CinemaCon floor taking lots of pictures of everything going on around the convention. So when we do our live stream tonight after the Universal presentation, remember that's going to be late tonight, like 10 p.m. Los Angeles time, 1 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. But when we do that one, we'll show you a lot of the pictures that they're going to be taking. Some people are saying, what about Sony? No, there's no Sony here this year. Every year at CinemaCon, like one of the studios doesn't go. This year, Sony is sitting out, although they are kind of here because they're going to be here with Crunchyroll, but Sony isn't doing a studio presentation this year. I think they're kind of hiding and licking their wounds a little bit after Madam Web. I don't know that for sure. I'm just taking a guess. But it seems like every year, remember a few years ago, Disney didn't go. And I think a bunch of years ago, Paramount didn't show up one year. This year, Sony's not going to be here. So no Sony presentation this year as they continue to lick their wounds over Madam Web. So yes, that's the stuff that's going on here at CinemaCon. We're just getting started. Listen, this is my favorite movie event of the year. Oscars are something, but to attend. It used to be Comic-Con. Comic-Con used to be my favorite event to go to every year. And I love Comic-Con. No disrespect on Comic-Con. I love Comic-Con. But once I started coming to CinemaCon, it's just such a different level to be here at this. And so I'm really excited every year to share with you what we have going on here. And yeah, so everything's really good. All right, guys, with that down, let's get over and start taking the questions you guys. Let's actually do the open mic part of open mic here, shall we? Let's get over and start actually taking the questions that you guys have sent in. Give me a second as I get this set up properly so you can see it. Because that doesn't look good. There we go. All right. Let's get things rolling here. We're going to start with 1.21 Jellowatts, who sends in a $20 tip. Thank you, Jellowatts, who writes in, "Help Campea crew. My kids are finally of an age and I don't know which movie they need to watch first, Clue or Murder by Death." Clue. The reason I say Clue is, and listen, I don't actually think Clue, the original Clue, is as great as a lot of people think it is. I like it. I do. I like it. But it is a pop cultural icon kind of movie. So Clue's the one you got to do. Remember Ryan Reynolds and the two writers for Deadpool were going to do a Clue remake? Remember that? I think that just kind of died. So I don't know. So anyway, Clue, that's the one you should do, Jellowatts. And thank you so much for tipping that much and supporting us on that level, dude. I appreciate that. All right. Swanson Burgundy writes, "I don't get the practical effects is just better than CGI argument. It's a bullshit argument." Whenever somebody goes, practical effects are better than CGI. No, they're not. They're not even close. Depending on the situation. Anyway, both are valid tools. I liken to a paintbrush versus a paint roller. Use the tool with the skill in the right situation and you can achieve fantastic results. Used badly, you won't. Exactly. So see, that's the situation here. The thing about practical is there are times that practical effects will give you the better effect. There are times that is true. There are times when, you know what, we could do a green screen here, but if we actually had a real old brick wall with whatever painted across it and a real like rickshaw that looks like it's also from some kind of steampunk thing physically there, it might help the actor interact with it and it might look better and feel better. Absolutely. There are times and places when practical effects work best. But there is also a whole hell of a lot of times when CGI is clearly the better choice. I mean, here's how good CGI is. 50% of the CGI you see in movies, you don't even know is CGI. I mean, as somebody who worked in CGI for a while, I am always shocked when I see a lot of behind the scenes stuff and I realize, oh my God, you mean he wasn't standing on a hill in that scene and that city wasn't in the background? Like, I'd say almost 50% of the visual effects that we see in movies, we don't even know we're looking at visual effects. The problem, I think, though, is that sometimes filmmakers have an over-reliance on CGI. Like, they'll do things that maybe they shouldn't do, just thinking, well, we'll just use a lot of CGI and that'll make it work. Sometimes that's true and sometimes it's not true. But I love your example. If you're painting, if you need to get a wall painted, your roller brush is 1,000% your best tool to use. If you're trying to paint a floorboard or what's the little thing that runs along the bottom of the floor against the wall? I can't remember the name of that. I'm not an interior designer. Anyway, if you're trying to paint that or something smaller or more fine, then yeah, the paintbrush is the better tool. It all depends on what you're trying to do and what your baseboard. Thank you, Dr. Stinky. It's called baseboard. Why did I freeze on baseboard? Not sure. But then that becomes the more logical choice. Okay. Next up, we've got Papa Trash, who writes, "Hey John, with CinemaCon coming up and is now here, in the past, what has been a film presentation that excited you the most but ended up being a disappointing film, and what film presentation was bad but the actual film ended up really good? Also watch Three Body Problem." Well, I've talked a lot about Three Body Problem, so I don't need to talk about it again. I really liked it. I thought Three Body Problem was really good. A movie that they showed that I ended up being really disappointed in, Marmaduke. A couple of years ago, they showed Marmaduke, and me and Aaron Cummings were here, and I sat through like the first 15 minutes, and I couldn't take it. I mean, to me, it was just so bad, I got up and left. And Aaron's like, "No, I believe this movie's going to turn around," and Aaron stayed, and about an hour later, she came knocking on my door. She goes, "Yeah, I had to leave eventually. It was just so bad." So that's one that was bad. I've never seen, not never. What was a movie that they showed a presentation of? I know. What's the one with Glenn Powell and Sydney Sweeney? That's Anyone But You? Is that the name of it? So they did a presentation last year of Anyone But You, and I thought it looked terrible. Like, I thought it looked awful. I was so excited not to watch it. Oh, by the way, yes, it wasn't Marmaduke. H2344. Say it was Clifford. That's right. It was Clifford the Big Red Dog, not Marmaduke. Thank you, Clifford. Or thank you, H2. So where was I? Oh, yeah, Anyone But You. The presentation for Anyone But You last year at CinemaCon was terrible. And today, I still haven't seen it, right? I still haven't seen Anyone But You. But everybody I talked to has said they really liked it. So Ann and I are gonna watch it pretty soon. I never got around to watch it because the presentation for it last year was so bad, but everybody says it's really good, so I'm gonna have to check it out. All right. Next up, we've got Jim Cornette, who writes, "The CM Punk Drew McIntyre Seth Rollins segment on last week's Raw was peak promo segment." I don't watch wrestling anymore. It was peak promo segment. They were given permission to ad lib and Punk didn't stay PG. The whole segment is on WWE's YouTube channel and doesn't require previous viewing to follow. Yeah, I usually, like, I don't watch wrestling anymore except for usually WrestleMania, but I didn't watch WrestleMania this year because we've been kind of busy. Saturday was Ann's birthday party, so we couldn't watch it. And then yesterday we were on the road coming to Vegas, so we didn't watch it. But I heard this year's WrestleMania was really good. But yeah, I don't watch the week by week wrestling stuff anymore. And I missed WrestleMania this year. All right, next up, we've got Koa, who writes, I can't imagine execs at WB Legendary, or I can imagine the execs at WB and Legendary running to get the next MonsterVerse movie up and running ASAP after the success of Godzilla x Kong, LOL. Listen, I'll tell you what, after just a couple of weeks, it was #1 at the box office again this week. Took a 60% drop. It's a little bit of a bigger drop than they were hoping for, sure, but it still made like a bunch of money. The movie's made well over $300 million in just 2 weeks. I don't think it's going to hit like the $600 million mark, but it's already a win for them. Like Godzilla x Kong for them is already a win. And they're super happy with it. And yes, you bet your ass they are moving quickly to try to get this thing in motion as fast as they can. 100% Koa. All right, next up. Jane Newby writes, to follow up on my Doctor Strange in Spider-Man 4 idea, what if when Toby gets home, okay, I'm going to get to your question, but let me just say this, guys. If you really want to, you can, but I would resist sending in topics about, okay, I would do this movie and here's what I would do. I would have this. I mean, everybody's got 50 of those scenarios in their head. But, I mean, if you really want to, send it in by all means, and I'll address it. But anyway, Jay writes, to follow up on my Doctor Strange and Spider-Man 4 idea, what if when Toby gets home, nobody remembers him because of the final spell in No Way Home? Then he'd need a Doctor Strange to help. He'd be devastated to find out MJ doesn't know him anymore. Jay, that's just Tom Holland's Spider. That's the exact same story that Tom Holland's in now. Like that would literally just be repeating what they're already doing with Tom Holland's Spider-Man. But what if, because of Doctor Strange's spell, nobody remembers he's Spider-Man? Yeah, that's what Tom Holland's Spider-Man's going through. And now he's devastated because MJ doesn't remember him. Yeah, they did that already in Tom Holland's Spider-Man. I mean, you're just kind of repeating what's already going on with Tom Holland's Spider-Man. You basically, if they were to do a Spider-Man 4 with Tobey Maguire, and they were to do that, all they'd be doing is taking the storyline that's going on with Tom Holland's Spider-Man and transposing it over. So I don't think that would work. I don't think that would work, and I don't think it's something they would go for. All right, next up. Let's see here. Jay Newby also writes in, which movie featuring a non-acting celebrity's first performance took you by surprise? Ooh, that's an interesting question. I think my answer would be Eminem and I was just thinking Eminem and 8 Mile is one that would come to mind. Also, his cameos in comedies are straight gutbusters. Thanks and Bring on the Filthy. I used to like it when Eminem would pop up on Entourage. I know he did at least once or twice, and I always thought he was pretty good in that. Okay, so one would be Keith Richards in Pirates of the Caribbean playing Jack Sparrow's dad, because of course, Johnny Depp based Jack Sparrow on Keith Richards, right? So that's the guitarist for the Rolling Stones. So he would try to be Keith Richards. So it was absolutely perfect when they went out to get Keith Richards to play his dad. So that was pretty fun. A time when a non-actor, I'm assuming we're not going to count when they're actually playing themselves. Jacob Farther in the live chat just said Kevin Garnett in the Adam Sandler film Uncut Gems. That's a good one too. That's a really, really good one. But yeah, I'd say, listen, he didn't deserve an Oscar or anything, but I'd say Eminem and 8 Mile is a really good one to bring up. All right, next up. An anonymous viewer writes, hey, John, I'm finally going to go visit Toronto, Canada for the first time. It's the best city in the world. I mean, I live in Hamilton, Ontario, which is my favorite city in the world, but Toronto, Ontario probably is the best city in the world. It's New York without all the garbage, filth, crime, dirtiness, all that kind of stuff. It's New York. It's all the best of New York without all of its weaknesses. Anyway, I'm finally going to go visit Toronto, Canada for the first time and wanted to ask if you suggest any places I've got to check out. I'll be there for nearly a week, so hopefully a good amount of time to explore. Love the show. Thanks. Well, first of all, you are going to have an amazing time visiting Toronto. It's an amazing, amazing place. I haven't lived there in about 15 years, though. So really, I'm not up to date on the really cool spots to visit, but you're going to want to visit the lakeshore. You're going to want to visit a couple of the museums. You're definitely going to want, it's a very touristy thing to do, but absolutely, you got to go to the CN Tower. I mean, you got to go up the CN Tower. I mean, that's an experience you're never going to forget. Yeah, so those are a couple things. Now, again, it's been 15 years since I lived there, so it's difficult for me to say a couple of things, because a couple of things I would mention might not even be there anymore, so I'm not sure. But do a lot of that stuff. I think you're going to have a really good time. Enjoy yourself, man. All right, next up, we got Brian Esparza writes, what are your thoughts on Invincible Season 2? I swear every day somebody asks me about Invincible Season 2, and I always have to give the same answer. Anyway, what are your thoughts on Invincible Season 2 so far? I'm loving the story, but I feel that a lot of people lost interest or straight up didn't know the show came back on because of its odd mid-season break. Yeah, let me just say this, and this isn't just a thing on Invincible. I really hate mid-season breaks in shows. Like, I just think they're ridiculous. You already have a break. It's called in between seasons. I remember, as good as Breaking Bad was, remember they did that with one or two of their seasons where they had like a 7-month break in between? I think it was like season 6 the first part of season 6, and then you had to wait like 6 months for the second part of season 6. I hate that. Stranger Things is different. Michael's bringing up Stranger Things because they only wait like a few weeks, right? And they're doing that, and that's a television series that's dropping a bunch of episodes at once and then another bunch of episodes at once. It's not a week-to-week series, and then they take a 4-month break and then continue. And so that's Stranger Things is a totally different situation. But I hate that. For me, though, I watched the first half of season 2, and I just didn't think it was very good. Like, it was okay. I didn't dislike it. I didn't dislike it. But I loved the first season of Invincible. Like, loved it. I thought it was so good. And I gotta say, I found the first half of season 2 pretty underwhelming. And I was just not motivated to go and watch the second part of season 2. And having that break definitely took me out of it. Like, I think, because I didn't dislike it, I think if the next episode of Invincible Season 2 came out after the last episode I watched, I probably would have watched it. But because I was already on the fence, and then they brought in this break, I'm like, I just gave up on it. Now, look, I probably will sometime in the next month or two. Sometime in the next month or two, I will probably catch back up to it. But yeah, the fact that the first half of season 2 was mediocre at best, combined with the fact that then they had some ridiculous, inexplicable mid-season break, it totally took me out of it, and I just never watched it again. So I'll probably catch back up with it at some point, but yeah. I'm really waiting for Arcane to come back. That's what I'm really waiting for. All right. Next up, Gus's moviefarts.com.org writes, any news about Stranger Things? Speaking about Stranger Things, I haven't heard anything. Also, could a spin-off be possible where it's 20 years later and Stranger Things are still going on? I don't think they'll make that kind of a time jump. I don't think they will. But they have talked kind of extensively about the fact that they may be looking at doing spin-offs. Spin-offs are definitely in the cards. So they could definitely be doing those. I haven't heard, other than that, I haven't heard any news. I haven't heard anything brand new about it, but I think Stranger Things is a show that's just getting better and better. And not a lot of shows do that. Once they get past the first couple of seasons, and I know not everybody will agree with me, and that's fine, but I really think Stranger Things is a show that's been getting better and better, and I'm looking forward to it coming back. All right. Let's see. Next up, we got Papa Trash, who writes, did you know Ewan McGregor has a murder mystery show? I heard about this, I think, that just came out and is really great. I sure didn't until the day after it came out. It's so weird how studios don't market good TV and complain when nobody watches. It's A Gentleman in Moscow, by the way. I heard about something about it. I didn't know what the title of it was, but listen, my guess is I don't know. I'm just taking a guess. I'm guessing it's a Netflix show. Is it a Netflix show? Let me know, guys. But I wouldn't be surprised if it was a Netflix show, because Netflix is notorious for not marketing their shows very well. They just do such a bad job of it. And so, yeah, and a Ewan McGregor show, I don't know. So I haven't heard anybody talk about it yet, but yeah, they definitely didn't do a good job showcasing it. They didn't do a good job showcasing it. All right, next up. Wait, somebody in the live chat is saying, John, the Universal panel's on Wednesday. How can you tell that somebody has joined the live stream late? Anyway, all right. Let's see. Next up, we've got Murray Reich writes, I saw the new King Kong and had a lot of fun. Dumb dialogue, though, absolutely. The whole nanotech arm on Kong, well, that wasn't nanotech. Like, that wasn't remotely nanotech. The whole nanotech arm on Kong looked dope, though. I thought it looked great. Saw it in AMC Dolby. Great visuals and sound were worth the experience, despite the 30 minutes of ads. Don't even get me going on that, Murray. Oh, dear, Nicole Kidman combined together. Listen, let me talk about this again for a second. Godzilla X Kong is really dumb. Like, it just is. There are many things about it that are trademarks of a bad movie. There are. And so anybody who says to me, I didn't like Godzilla X Kong, my response would be, I get it. I get it. I totally get it. Understand, there's a lot there to not like. I personally had a blast with it, just because it was just a lot of fun. Now, whenever the discussion of Godzilla and Kong come up, because a little bit of a spoiler, it's a Godzilla X Kong film. If you actually think anything in a movie called Godzilla X Kong is a spoiler, you need to recalibrate, okay? But in Godzilla X Kong, Kong knocks Godzilla the fuck out. Boom! He knocks him down, takes full mount, starts raining down hammer fists and elbows, and he knocks Godzilla out. And then chooses not to kill him. Instead, he then tries to do what he was there to do. He wants to take him and drag him into the dimensional rift to take him down to, fight the other monsters. Now, whenever that gets brought up, and that's fine, because in the first Godzilla vs. Kong, Godzilla got the upends on Kong. So in this one, Kong got the upends on Godzilla. Rain down elbows. Anyway. So they do that. And whenever I bring it up, I get all these Godzilla fans who cry. Well, they had to give Godzilla that metal hand, or they had to give King Kong that metal hand. Boo-hoo! They gave King Kong a metal hand. I'm like, oh, really? Give me a moment. So you're upset? And by the way, I love Godzilla. I do. I love Godzilla. This movie is great because it's Godzilla and Kong. I love them both. But for the Godzilla apologists, whenever they cry, oh, boo-hoo, they gave King Kong a metal glove. I'm like, okay, that's fine. But you have no problem that every couple of decades, Godzilla just gets given new superpowers? And that's fine. Oh, that's fine. Yeah, you give Godzilla new mutant powers and new abilities and up his power levels of these superpowers and all that. Yeah, give him all that. That's totally cool. But don't give King Kong a metal hand. That's not fair. Oh God, give me a break. Give me a break. Listen, Godzilla got the uppins on Kong in the first film. Kong got the uppins on him. I just love, as an MMA fan, that they literally had, first of all, as a guy who grew up watching wrestling, I love that there was a suplex. Like literally a kaiju suplexing another kaiju. That was amazing. But then as an MMA fan, having Kong literally getting Godzilla down and then getting full mount and start boom, raining down punishment, ground and pound. I loved it. I thought it was great. So he knocked Godzilla out. And instead of continuing to rip him apart and tear his head off or do whatever, he stops and drags him to the hole. So, yeah, it is what it is. But here's the thing, though. My fellow King Kong and my fellow Godzilla fans, we're talking about it. We're talking about how great it was, right? It was so much fun. Again, I understand people who didn't like the movie. I do. Totally get it. Totally understand. No argument from me. I totally understand why you didn't like it if you didn't like it. 100%. But I hope you can understand why those of us who did enjoy it, enjoyed it. Because there was a lot of that fun in there. Anyway. Okay, let's keep going here. Next up, we've got Zachary Zarvos writes, watching your show from London, thank you. I saw Godzilla X Kong, fell asleep 15 minutes in, and woke up just before that final action sequence. Perfect way to watch the movie. I will say no, because while there isn't as many action sequences in the movie as I kind of hoped there would be, there are still a number of good action sequences in it, and I think you missed out on a couple of them. So when you have a chance, take another look at it. Take another look. All right. Proud Cody Crybaby writes, since Robotech came up in previous open mic, I searched for the recent news, but came upon a Game Rant story from March, citing the official Macross website. All 18 Macross animated titles, movies and series, will be on Disney Plus internationally this year. Oh, that's pretty cool. I gotta admit, I haven't watched any like Robotech, Macross, like any of that for a long time. I watched a lot of that stuff when I was younger. I used to love it though. Like it was amazing. These jets that would turn into pilotable giant fighting robots. Loved it. It was great. What do they call them what are they called in Pacific Rim? They had the kaiju or the monsters, and what were the name of their giant robots again? They had a specific name for them. They weren't mechs. They were called something else. Guys in the live chat, Jaegers, thank you. Dash, Endar, and Gray Fox were the first ones, Jaegers. So, like, watching these at the time were our first introduction to kind of like Jaegers. I really hope somehow, some way they can get this figured out. I would love to get a Macross movie, a Robotech movie. I really would. All right. BK Dan writes, John, regarding Matrix 4, it wasn't just that movie was ass. It was also released day and date on Max. Yes, but let me get to that in a second. Then they announced it would come off of Max to do theatrical. They also announced it would go back into Max in 2 months after that. A few reasons for the $125 million. Okay, so here's the thing. The other day, it got announced that they're going to make a new Matrix movie. And they've got a really good filmmaker doing it, so that's good. But I just don't think anybody cares about Matrix anymore. And one of the reasons I brought up that I really don't think people care about Matrix anymore is that, number one, the last Matrix movie, Resurrections, was total ass. I mean, it was terrible. And I was so excited for that movie. But it was absolutely horrendous. Like, it was really bad. Now, one of the other things that I mentioned was, when you looked at the box office of it, it made like $125 million. Now, I had a number of people since then correctly bring up to me, well, John, you're forgetting the fact, or you're leaving out the fact that, like a number of the other movies, like Dune and Godzilla vs. Kong, that, you know, it was a day and date release on Max. So that's why it made so little money. There's a problem with that, though. Because while the people who pointed this out to me were correct to say, hey, John, just like Dune and just like Godzilla vs. Kong, these were movies. Matrix was a movie that got released day and date on HBO Max, and that explains why it made so little money. The problem is that Dune and Godzilla vs. Kong, even though they were also day and date, they made both of those movies made, I think, over $400 million. So like almost 4 times as much. So yes, Matrix 4 got released day and date, just like Dune, and just got like Godzilla vs. Kong. But Dune and Godzilla vs. Kong made like $400+ million each, and Matrix 4, in the same circumstances that those two movies were, only made 125. And yes, a big part of that is because the movie was bad. But I don't think you can get around that. It just also showed the audience doesn't want to go back to the Matrix. I don't think the audience is interested in Matrix anymore. Now, when they make this new Matrix, I will be keen on seeing it myself. But I just don't know if a lot of people will be. I think people are Matrixed out. I think the Matrix was amazing for what it was, but I think they are now Matrixed out and they're ready to move on. Maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong. Hopefully they make a new one and it's awesome and it makes $1 billion. But I just have my doubts. I have my doubts, but hopefully I'm wrong. All right, thanks for that, BK. Next up, Wesley Cunningham writes, I'm torn on a new Matrix. Last one lost me entirely. How do you drop the ball on both the story and the martial arts of all things in the Matrix? But maybe new writer-director can breathe some new life. I mean, yeah, listen, bringing in, it's Ball, right? That's who's doing it. Help me out, guys. I think it's Ball who's doing it. I think it is. Hold on, I just got to make sure this isn't my mom calling. Give me 1 second. Always got to make sure you're checking when it could be mom. No, it's not mom. Hold on a second. Okay, no, it's not mom, but that's okay. What were we talking about? Oh yeah, so I think. Oh, not Wes Ball, it's Drew Goddard. Thank you. Yeah, not Wes Ball is doing something else. Drew Goddard is doing it. Drew Goddard's really good. And maybe bringing in a fresh director, a fresh set of eyes, a fresh perspective. Maybe he's the one who can breathe new life in the Matrix. I hope he can. I really do. All right. Duck writes, Buenas tardes. The box office has been very interesting recently. Dune, Kung Fu Panda, and Godzilla all doing very well despite all kinds of being big releases. Lots of variety so early in the year. Oh, and Ghostbusters is in there too, I guess. Here's an interesting thing. There was just a report. Let me see if I can find it here. There was just a report. Yes, let me bring it up and see if I can get it into this to show it. I just had a buddy of mine send this to me this morning, and it's a really interesting article. If I can get this article in here. Let me try it here. All right. Yeah. So you might not be able to see it. The box office projections have gone up for the year now. Because of the way the audience, they're gauging audience. You can't see it on the screen right now, but it says the 2024 global box office projection revised upwards by analysts on the eve of CinemaCon. So what analysts are saying right now, as they look at what's going on, is that the movie-going habits of audiences have altered more towards going back to the movies again. And with some surprise box office that they have this year, they're now thinking the box office is going to do much better in 2024 than they expected. Now, whether that ends up being true or not, we'll find out, but it's definitely encouraging to see. All right. Next up, we've got Logan Vaughn, who sends in like a $30 super chat or tip. Thank you, Logan Vaughn, so much for supporting us on that level, man. This is incredibly generous of you. And Logan writes, what are some of the best older movies you watched for the first time in a theater? Not many. Example, I saw Godfather for the first time when Regal brought it back. Also, my first viewing of the OG Suspiria, Boogie Nights, The King of Comedies were in theaters. That is a great question, Logan. Unfortunately, I'm not the best person to ask that question because, like, I have been a movie fanatic my whole life, right? Like an absolute movie fanatic my whole life. My earliest childhood memories, my mom showing me Star Wars. I've been obsessed about movies forever. Whenever I meet new people, eventually I'll just turn the conversation towards, have you guys seen this? That's I'm that loser. Like I have no social skills. I'm terrible. So there's really not any. Like, they can bring Jurassic Park back, but I've seen Jurassic Park. They can bring back, Boogie Nights, but I saw Boogie Nights. And then a lot of the movies like that were before my time, whether it's Godfather or a lot of those other ones, I've just seen them so many times. I haven't really had the chance to go back to the movie theaters to watch them, so I really can't think of any. But I think that is a great question, and I'm really, really jealous that there are going to be those of you who get to see some of these all-time great movies in a way that I never will, which is your first experience with it was in the way that the movies are meant to be seen in a movie theater. And I'll never have that experience with a lot of these movies, and I'm very jealous that you get to. But it's a great question, Logan. Thanks for sharing. And again, thank you for supporting us on that level, man. It's extremely generous of you. All right. Logan Vaughn again writes with another $30 tip, and he writes, I wish we already had Incredibles 3, Frozen 3, Tangled 2, and Zootopia 2. They'd all be 500 million plus movies, if not $1 billion movies. That's true. Waiting 5+ years seems strange when they can literally print money with these. Why does Disney take so long on these? I think there's a couple of reasons. I think one of the reasons is that it is a huge, massive undertaking making one of these animated features the way they make them. Like, it's a massive undertaking. Also, Disney has been committed, for good or for ill, to mixing up the types of stuff they do. Like, they've put out a lot of original, like, for instance, they just did Elemental. By the way, if any of you have still not seen the Pixar film Elemental, you really should. I'm not saying it's top 3 Pixar of all time. It's not, but it's great. That movie Elemental is great. And I highly, highly, highly suggest you go check it out. So they've been mixing in like originals with like Soul, Luca, Turning Red, which should have won the Academy Award for Best Animated Film. Films like Elemental, and films like Strange Worlds, which was terrible. Films like Wish, which was terrible. But they've had some great ones. Luca, Soul, Turning Red, Elemental. They've had some not so good ones. Wish was awful. I mean, that's a Disney animation, but Disney animation and Pixar are family. They're basically the same outfit in many ways. Strange Worlds was terrible. Anyway, so they've had a commitment to trying to mix in a lot of original stuff as well as sequels and IP stuff. And considering how much resources, how much manpower, how much time and money it takes to make one of these. Encanto is another one. Another original one that they did. You know, it takes a while. And a lot of these didn't do all that well. And so Bob Iger's come back and said, okay, well, we need to get the momentum going again. And what will get momentum going again? Sequels to our most popular franchises. Another Frozen, a Zootopia, stuff like that. These movies are going to make so much money. They're going to make so much. Oh yeah, Coco was another. Oh, Coco was so good. Shadow Knight in the live chat mentioned Coco. That movie is so, so good. Onward is another one that came out of the Mouse House. That was a quite a good one too. I liked Onward. Anyway, but that's why it's been taking them so long to get these things going. They've been committed to trying to mix it up. And now Bob Iger is going to try to use the popularity of these IPs to get the momentum going again. And we'll see if it works or not. All right. Next up, we've got Anonymous who writes, I'm moving out my apartment. I found my oldest ticket stub. Oh, niece. Pirates of the Caribbean 3 from 2007. Do you keep your movie ticket stubs? If so, what's the oldest one you have? I used to. Now I've got an old friend of mine. His name's Chris Tapley. I believe he's still working for Variety. Anyway, I used to roommate with him, but he had the most impressive ticket stub collection I've ever seen. Like, he had like this big box and it was just all his ticket stubs. I mean, it's really, I don't think they were organized in any way, but it was like one of the most impressive things. And I used to keep meaningful ticket stubs. Like, I had from my first screening of Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring. I had the one from Star Wars The Phantom Menace when I went to go see the first screening of Phantom Menace. But like a lot of paper and things you collect, they got lost. And what's really nice is on the AMC app. Let me see if I can open it here. On the AMC app, because I'm an A-list member, well, you know, A-list, and before that, I can't remember what it was called before that. They keep a running record of all the movies you've seen and all the times you've seen them. So if I go like to the past year and bring it up, like, so there's, and I just saw Monkey Man, and there's Godzilla and Ghostbusters and Dune Part 2 and Dune Part 2. There's Madam Web. There's another Dune Part 2, American Fiction. Anyway, so it keeps a running list. So I now actually have like a digital version of my movie ticket stubs. So it is something that I used to do, but I didn't do it anymore. But that's a pretty cool thing that you still have that one, Anonymous. All right. Next up, Tech writes, John, I want to apologize about asking why you reject anime these days. Yes, because that's not a fair representation of what my feelings are towards anime. Anyway, I did not intend to misrepresent you. I understand that this is something you deal with as an online pundit, but I was genuinely curious why you don't watch more. Big fan of you. Cheers. I think it's the same reason that I don't listen to more country music. It's just that I don't like country music. You know? It's not that country music can't be great and wonderful, and I totally get why a lot of people do like country music. Country music just doesn't click with me. And I like all kinds of music. Like, when you go on and listen to my playlist in my car, I'll have like some Luciano Pavarotti and Metallica and U2 and Jay-Z and... you know, I mean, you just name it. I've got like, I listen to just about everything. The only thing that doesn't really work for me is country. Again, that's not me putting down country music. It's just not for me. That's all, right? So I don't run out and grab every new country album that comes out, because just generally speaking, it's not that there isn't some country that I don't like. Yeah, there's some country I like, but that's the exception. So because I just know in general country music isn't for me, I don't myself run out and listen to a lot of country music. That's fair. Nothing wrong with that. But the same is true of anime for me. I've tried a lot of anime, and generally speaking, anime just doesn't click with me. Again, that's not me putting anime down. It's not saying I don't understand why other people love it. It's just that anime in general doesn't work for me. So if I know a particular genre or whatever doesn't usually click for me, I'm not going to go out of my way to go in and watch it. Like, I'm not a seafood lover, so I'm not going to go check out a bunch of seafood restaurants. But John, this one's really good. I'm sure it is. But I generally don't enjoy seafood, so I'm going to go to an Italian restaurant, or I'm going to go to a Mexican restaurant, or I'm going to go to a steakhouse, or I'm going to go to a burger joint, or I'm going to go whatever, but I'm not going to go out of my way to go to a seafood place. Nothing against seafood. It's just generally speaking, seafood doesn't really work for me. So why would I go out of my, when I could watch other things that I do have a higher chance of enjoying, why would I watch a lot of anime where I already know it just generally doesn't work for me? Again, that's not me putting anime down. It just doesn't click with me. That's all. Nothing wrong with that. Everything's good. All right. Next up. Toasted Shoes writes, hey, John and crew. Not reported in the major trade, so take it with a grain of salt. That means this is probably BS. But it's being reported that Ultraman will be the villain of James Gunn's new Superman movie. Thoughts on this? I generally don't like to spend a lot of time using brain cells, because I don't have a lot of them, to try to ponder the deeper meaning of what is probably a non-true fake story. So I don't really know. I will know this, and if I'm not mistaken, I think James Gunn already said that that wasn't true. I could be mistaken about that, but I think Gunn already said it wasn't true. So yeah, again, if something is not coming out of either Variety, the Hollywood Reporter, The Wrap, take it with a giant grain of salt. Take it with a giant grain of salt. Sometimes those reports do end up being true. Sometimes. And that's fine. But yeah, I wouldn't spend a lot of time worrying about them on that kind of thing. But listen, I will say this. Let's say it was true. For hypothetical sake, let's say it was true. It would be an unconventional choice. But James Gunn has made a career out of doing the unconventional, right? Polka Dot Man, Guardians of the Galaxy, that nobody had heard of before he did it. Like he's made a career out of that. But yeah, from what I understand, I don't think this one is true. All right. Thanks for that, Toasted Shoes. Next up, Joe Adonis T writes, "Hey, John. I sometimes volunteer on film festivals here in the Bay Area, and during orientation, I ask if they are going to discourage patrons on using Meta glasses. They haven't thought of it. Will we be seeing bans on the likes of fests and cons?" Well, here's the thing, Joe Adonis. A bunch of years ago, gosh, it might be like 7 years ago or more. Guys, how long ago was Google Glasses? Remember that? How long ago was that? It has to have been a while. Do any of you guys in the live chat remember Google Glasses? But they like a long time ago, before the Apple Vision Pro and all that kind of stuff, years and years and years ago, Google came out these things with 13 years ago? Cord Cutter Cam is saying 13 years ago? Oh, Dr. Stinky's saying 2014. Mike say 2011. Okay, so it was over a decade ago, okay? Over a decade ago. They had Google Glasses. And one of the things in Google Glasses was a little camera. And I remember, I think I was either at AMC or still during my movie blog days. A big thing came out that movie theaters were banning Google Glasses. They were banning them. And some people said, that's not fair. I have this, I should be allowed to bring my technology with me. It's like, you moron. They're not going to let you bring in a camera that is literally pointed at a movie screen. Of course they banned them. 100% they banned them. Now, it turns out that the technology was not ready for prime time and all that kind of stuff. But yes, that we've already been through this. Movie theaters banned them. They should be banned. I'm not saying the technology should be banned in general. I'm just saying bringing them into movie theaters? No, they're definitely... Film festivals, movie theaters will not let people bring those in, nor should they. They absolutely should not be letting that happen. All right. Next up, we've got... Oh, by the way, Joe Adonis sent like a $25 tip. Thank you so much for that, Joe. And yeah, I got a feeling film festivals won't allow that kind of stuff in there. All right. Jake G writes... there is a rumor going around that Naughty Dog's next game is going to be a new IP and not The Last of Us Part 3, which is disappointing to me. I don't think Ellie and Abby's story is wrapped up yet. No, it's definitely not wrapped up yet. I mean, listen, The Last of Us 2 is, I believe, the single greatest story ever told in a video game. I'm not saying Last of Us 2 is the greatest video game of all time. I'm saying I think it's the greatest story that's ever been told in a video game. I'm really moved by the types of stories that examine the effects that pain has on people, even good people, and how pain can change you and change even the best of people. And I love that kind of stuff, and I think they did a great job with that in The Last of Us Part 2. And if that's the end of it, it's the end of it. That's okay. But they'll eventually get around to The Last of Us Part 3. I've no doubt they will. Whether it's sooner or later, we'll find out. But I think it's definitely going to happen. All right. Next up, Spanky writes, I know everyone has been talking about Alan Ritchson playing DCU's Batman as of late, but I would really like to see him play the MCU's new Blade. What Mahershala lacks in size, Alan has in spades. Also, he's a lot younger. True, but like unlike when I think of, say, a Batman character, physical size is not one of the hallmarks of Blade, right? It's just not. Like Blade is not supposed to look like that. He's not supposed to be like he's definitely a physically intimidating individual, but nowhere near like that. That's not nearly as big of a part of the image of Blade as, say, Batman, who's supposed to be like, Batman is supposed to be like the most physically peak condition that a human being can possibly achieve, right? So, yeah, I mean, that's a big part of it. So I don't see how that's any. Plus, when I think of Alan Ritchson and I think of his DNA as an actor, I don't see Blade in there at all. Like, I don't see anything remotely resembling a Blade character at all. So physical size is not an important trait of Blade. Wesley Snipes a big guy, but he's not like Ritchson's size. Like, not at all. So nah, I don't see it. And I mean, and then you get into the question too of like ethnicity and stuff like that. And the reality is too, whereas I am perfectly fine with, in most movies and TV shows, if you want to do some race switching or ethnicity or gender swapping, I'm totally fine with that as long as it doesn't encroach on the core essential nature of who and what the character is. I'm usually good with that, but I just don't think, but even if you take that out of it, I just don't see Alan Ritchson as a good Blade. I see him as a good Batman, but I don't see him as a good Blade. So I don't personally think that's a good fit at all. But that's just me. I love Alan Ritchson, but I don't think that he's a good fit for that. All right. Next up, Garden Variety Vagabond writes, on the Silver Surfer and the actor saying, I thought it was going to be me. Number one, the other version may yet also be in the movie. And number two, he may be playing that role. He could be totally trolling us. Yeah, so for those of you who missed this, Lakeith Stanfield from Atlanta, he's great. I love him. He was so good in, he had a small part. It was a small part, but he was still very, very good in Get Out, Judas and the Black Messiah, which I think he got an Academy Award nomination for. Anyway, he's fantastic. So after they announced that the character we're getting in Fantastic Four is not Norrin Rad, but rather the Shala Ball version of Silver Surfer. For those of you who missed it, Lakeith Stanfield then got online and said on his social media, I thought it was going to be me. Now, he might just be trolling everybody or everything, or maybe at one point they'd considered using the Norrin Rad version of Silver Surfer. I think that is a character we are still going to see in the MCU at some point. They're just not rushing him in right now. So we'll see. But yeah, it's possible we get multiple versions of Silver Surfer in Fantastic Four. And if not in Fantastic Four, down the line in Marvel. And they might just be setting some things up right now. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. All right. Next up. Garden Variety Vagabond also writes, John, for Fantastic Four, could Photon be the entrance into their universe as the Greek choir representing us as the one being introduced into their world? Then, old X-Men may also appear, hopefully limited. Do you think they might, too? Should they? Thanks. Well, look, we talked about this on the John Campea Show the other day. I think it was me and Rob were on. And we were talking about how it's possible. Because remember, they just showed that new Fantastic Four poster, right? And the city that Human Torch is flying in front of is clearly not our Earth. I'm hoping most of you guys saw that new poster. We talked about it on the John Campea Show, that new Fantastic Four poster that Marvel put up online. And it's Human Torch flying across a skyline. But the skyline is of a city that is clearly not our Earth. So part of the theory that came up was that, could it be that that is the Earth that Photon at the end of the Marvels went into, that reality? Remember where we see Hank McCoy's Beast? And maybe that's the world that this iteration of Fantastic Four exists. And maybe that's where mutants are going to come from. Again, we don't know, it's just speculation, but it's definitely a possibility because it would explain a lot. It would explain why no one's ever heard of the Fantastic Four in the MCU as we know it. It would explain why we've never really had conversations about mutants if they're supposed to have been around for a long time. Maybe we're going to see like what they did in the comics where they merge worlds and we're going to have a merger. Maybe yes, maybe no. It could be interesting if they go about it that way though. All right. Next up, Your Name writes, in Shogun, I understand why the actors are speaking Japanese in the presence of the Portuguese characters, similar to the show Warriors. Why can't they speak in English when not in their presence? Hard to read subtitles and pay attention to the action. No, it's not. It's really not. I understand that for some people it is, and that's understandable, but it adds to the authenticity of the show, to the feeling of authenticity of the show. And remember, our main protagonist, even though it's really Toranaga is actually in many ways the real main protagonist of the show. But the story is being told through the eyes of John Blackthorne. And it would be kind of ridiculous for John Blackthorne to be standing there and have Toranaga speaking English and then have John Blackthorne goes, somebody interpret that for me. I don't understand what he said. Like it would be very weird. Like that would just play very odd, right? John Blackthorne, who is our eyes into the world of Shogun, like he's hearing them speak Japanese. He needs interpreters. It would just be ridiculous for him to be standing there and Mariko is saying, like Toranaga says to Mariko, all right, tell the Anjin that I'm going to want his cannons over there and he's going to be my main man. And then John Blackthorne goes, well, what did he say? I didn't understand a thing he just said. Well, yeah, so a couple of reasons. It adds to the feel of authenticity to the show. It gives it a great way of us seeing into an alien culture through the eyes of somebody this is something totally new for. And subtitles are not hard. They're not hard. And really, there's not a lot of dialogue going on in action. It's not like there's a massive sword fight happening, and as they're sword fighting, so what do you think about who should be the next shogun? Oh, I don't know. I think Toranaga-san has a great idea for the future of the people. But Ishido, he has a stronger, as they're fighting, right? Like, it's not like you have to be doing both things. So no, subtitles are not hard. They're not difficult. As long as subtitles are displayed at the proper size and in the proper speed, it's perfectly fine. It is perfectly fine. So, and again, I just think it would make the show feel very, very weird if they're just speaking English and our main through their eyes protagonist, John Blackthorne, isn't supposed to be able to understand what they're saying. It would be very odd. And again, the big word for me is authenticity. It gives more to the feeling of authenticity of the story. But that's just me. All right. Next up, GusMovieFarts.com.net writes, I'm excited that the Matrix franchise is being reimagined by Drew Goddard, much like Star Wars was given new life by different creators. I believe Mr. Goddard could give a new angle, maybe not lean to the martial arts, but more lives of the people and the ones in charge of the Matrix. Maybe. I just think the story of the Matrix has been done. That's the thing. Like, to me, it just feels like it's done. And I don't know if anybody's going to be interested in a Matrix movie that isn't action-centric, because that's kind of the DNA of what Matrix has been known at. But listen, a good filmmaker like Drew Goddard clearly had an idea that he went to Warner Brothers with, and they liked it enough that they greenlit it. So never count him out. Let's see what he has. So I'm gonna cheer for him. I'm going to hope that it really, really works. I just have my doubts. But then again, I had my doubts about Harley Quinn, and I had my doubts about Arcane, and I love Arcane, so we'll see how it works. All right. Next up. Let's see. Give me a second here. Why can't I bring this up? There we go. Okay. Top Gun Manny writes, hey John, I just bought my Hollywood Bowl 3 concert deal. Number 1, John Williams in concert. Number 2, Disney 80s and 90s movie hits. Number 3, Marvel MCU Infinity Saga concert experience. Are you and Anne attending any concerts at the Bowl this summer? Well, We go to the John Williams thing every year, so we're definitely going to be at that. Anne and her friend already have their tickets for the Disney 80s and 90s thing. I do not yet have plans to go to the MCU thing, but they're a lot of fun, and I may end up going to that one too. If you guys ever have a chance to go one of these movie things in concert, go. They're a total blast. They're a lot of fun. I hope you have a good time, Top Gun Manny. All right. Next up, Chris writes, "Hey, John and crew. First time writing in after listening every day for the past 7 years. Thank you so much, Chris. I appreciate that. Do you have any obscure / underrated picks for future Oscar winners? I know impossible to predict. It's impossible to predict, yeah. But mine would be Daniel Radcliffe or Ben Stiller for directing. Thanks." Listen, I am a big Ben Stiller fan. Mystery Men, Zoolander. I just, whatever Ben Stiller is in, I generally like. I love Ben Stiller. And I think he's a very good director. I have not seen him exhibit, like, I enjoy him as a director, but I don't see Oscar-winning director in Ben Stiller. Hope I'm wrong, because I really like Ben Stiller a lot. As far as Daniel Radcliffe goes, he's a really good actor. He's a really fine actor. You give him, and he was outstanding in Weird, the Al Yankovic Story. Like, I know it was a satire little comedy, but he was outstanding in it. He's always outstanding. He really is. You give him the right role in the right movie, I could see him someday winning an Academy Award. I could see that happening. All right. And last one that we have here comes to us. Let me see if I can arrange it so you can see it properly. There we go. Garden Variety Vagabond writes, "I saw that the production status updated for Wednesday. I was a fan and totally had an inappropriate crush. The question is, do you feel that the show will have as high, the show Wednesday, will have as high viewer ratings this time? Or was the first season a zeitgeist moment based on novelty?" That's a very good question. I liked Wednesday. Now, I didn't think Wednesday was as good as some people think it is, but I think it's good. Like, I liked it. I think it's good, and I'm glad they're doing a second season. I'm going to watch the second season. I don't know that it's going to have the same ratings that the first season did, though. Like, I think you got Jenna Ortega. I mean, she's perfect for that role, right? Absolutely perfect for that role. There's a novelty to it, but I wonder if that novelty is done. I don't know. I'm not willing to bet against it at this point yet. I'm not willing to bet against it. But my guess, it will still be a big hit, but not as big as the first season was. That'll be my guess. I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong, but that will be my guess. All right, guys, listen. That will do it for the tip questions that we had come in. I'm now going to go over and start taking the live questions that you guys have been sending in while we've been doing the show. By the way, the super chats have been turned off because they filled up. But before we get to those, we're going to take a second and thank one of the sponsors of our show today, our time here at CinemaCon, the good folks over at BetterHelp. Guys, we want to thank a sponsor of today's video, BetterHelp. Guys, it's a brand new year, and a lot of people are making New Year's resolutions, things they want to change about themselves. But I've always believed that it's also equally as important to identify the things we're doing well and building on those. And therapy helps you find your strengths so you can ditch the extreme resolutions and make changes that really stick. I've always believed that nothing impacts our daily performance in our jobs, our hobbies, our relationships like our mental health. And I've also said for a long time that it's about time that we stop just putting emphasis on improving our physical health by getting out to the gym, but also by putting emphasis on improving our mental health as well. So if you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. All you gotta do is fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. So guys, celebrate the progress you've already made. Visit betterhelp.com/Campea today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/Campea. And thank you to our friends at BetterHelp for sponsoring today's episode. All right, guys, with that down, let's get over and start taking the live tips and questions you guys have been sending in via Super Chat. I'll see if I can get this set up properly. Okay, here we go. Where are we starting with? We are starting with Jesse Price. I'm going to see if I can get Jesse's actual name on the screen here. There's Jesse Price. Okay, so Jesse writes, "Hey, John, hope you're doing well, and the drive to Vegas went well. The drive to Vegas went great, thank you. Anyway, today is my 31st birthday. Happy birthday, my friend. And I've been watching since 2019, so thank you for all the laughs and the great news." Jesse, thank you so much for that. May you have a fabulous birthday, particularly on this CinemaCon week, and may you have a wonderful year in front of you, and thank you for being with us since 2019, man. I really appreciate that, dude. All right, next up. We've got, that was Jesse Price, right? Yes, that was Jesse Price. Next up, we've got Miguel Zayn, who writes, "I finally saw Love Lies Bleeding. Liked it a lot. It's really good. It's really good. It had a lot of potential of being great, but there are some elements that weren't fleshed out enough, but performances were great. Katie O'Brien is as Wonder Woman. I could see that. Maybe. Thoughts?" Listen, my critique of the film was, and I find this is normally my one critique of a lot of films that I really like, which is that the pacing was off in some places. Like because they didn't flesh certain things out, it made the flow of the story not as good, and it hurt the pacing a little bit, all that kind of stuff. Her as Wonder Woman, I don't do X actor and X role things. Let's just put it this way. Were they to announce her as Wonder Woman tomorrow, and by the way, Miguel sent in like a $27 tip. Thank you, Miguel, so much for that. Let's just say I wouldn't be against it. I wouldn't be against it at all. I think that could actually be really, really cool. All right, next up, we've got Guzman, who writes, "Stay hydrated. Hope y'all have a good time. Listen, I'll be honest with you. Since we got to Vegas, granted, I've only been here a day. We got here last night. I haven't left the resort. I haven't left Caesar's Palace. I probably won't leave Caesar's Palace. That's not true. Last night, our favorite restaurant in Las Vegas is Gordon Ramsay's Steak, which is in the Paris Hotel. Gordon Ramsay has like 5 restaurants in Vegas, but his best one is Gordon Ramsay's Steak in Paris. I think it's still there. Haven't been there in a while. But Anne has discovered our second favorite restaurant in Vegas, and it's in the MGM. So last night, me, Ann, and Ray got in a cab, and we drove over to the MGM to go to a place called the International Smokehouse. What's key about it is that it's owned by Steph Curry's wife. I think her name's Aisha. I could be wrong about what I think her first name's Aisha. Anyway, Steph Curry, the NBA superstar, his wife runs it. It is Aisha. Okay, it is Mike. Thank you, Michael Gonzalez. It's Aisha Curry, and she owns this restaurant called the International Smokehouse. It is fucking fabulous. It's so good. Like me and Ray, it was Ray's first time there, and Ray's like, "Oh my God," like every bite, like their ribs, and they have this rib tip mac and cheese, the pork belly rice, but the ribs, oh my God, the ribs. Anyway, if you guys are ever in Vegas, take a little trip over to the MGM, and there's a little restaurant in there called the International Smokehouse. Get it. And 50 feet up the hallway from it is a thing called Nellie's Southern Food, or Nellie's Southern Kitchen. I think that's the name of it. It's actually owned by the Jonas Brothers, which is why Anne wanted to go try it. But again, it's a remarkable good food restaurant. Unbelievable food. So go to the MGM, go to the International Smokehouse, and then next meal, go 50 feet further up the hallway and go to Nellie's Southern Kitchen. Because oh my God, it's all so good. The food is so good. So yeah, we did leave the resort a little bit yesterday. All right, Bill's HQ writes, it's here, my very first CinemaCon. Oh, you're here. I literally can't be more excited. Hoping to see you walking around. You probably will see us walking around. Have a great time. It's such fun to come to CinemaCon. Of course, the problem is it's expensive. Right, it's expensive. A ticket is $1,350. To stay in Caesars, it's going to cost you a couple $1,000s. It's not cheap to come to CinemaCon. If it wasn't so important to my job, even though it's my favorite thing, I don't know that I would come every year because it's so bloody expensive. But it's worth the cost because as a movie pundit, we literally get a look at all this like 10, 15, 20, 30 minutes of footage of movies that might not even be coming out for 8 more months. And that really helps us in our job. It's important to our job, so that's why I pay for it. But it's expensive, man. It's real expensive to come. But I hope you have a great time, Bill's HQ. All right. Next up, James Germain writes, so WrestleMania, what the F? Again, I didn't watch it, so I can't comment on it. But I heard it was good. Like everybody that I talked to that saw it said it was really good. Brandon writes, did you guys watch The Eclipse yet? No, I've been sitting here. Now, granted, I've got my window right here. And I don't see the sun. I just see the blue sky. I haven't seen it get darker out. So did I miss it? I guess I missed it. All right. Next up, Sam Fisher writes, did you see Michael Sheen did a BBC program called The Assembly for Autism Awareness Week? No, it was a Q&A with 35 neurodiverse people. It was fantastic. That's awesome. I love it when celebrities donate their time and energy to causes like that. I think that's absolutely fantastic. So I'm glad he did. And I've always loved Michael Sheen. Ever since, what was his character's name again? Help me out, guys. In Underworld. He was the werewolf. What was his name? Help me out. Why am I freezing it? Lucius? No, it wasn't Lucian. Was it Lucian? Was that his name in Underworld? Michael Sheen as the werewolf? Help me out, guys. No, it was Lucian. Okay. Oh, he's so good in that. I didn't even love Underworld, but I loved the world they created and him in it. He was fantastic. I love him. All right. Thanks for sharing that, Sam. Next up, Tacky75 writes, my Time to Shine said that when Feige asked Hugh to return as Wolverine for Secret Wars, the latter agreed with one condition, to interact with Toby and RDJ. I don't buy that. I don't believe that at all. Not at all. Listen, My Time to Shine is one of these Twitter scoopers who sometimes says some things and they turn out to be bang on correct. But it's hit and miss. And that's one of those reports. I don't believe that for a second. I don't believe that for a split second. I think all it took was one phone call from Ryan Reynolds, and that was it. I think, Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman have been great friends for years. They have teased for years and years and years doing this thing together. And when it finally happened, I don't believe for 1 second that Hugh Jackman said to Kevin Feige, I'll only do it if I get to interact with Tobey Maguire and Robert Downey Jr. I don't buy that for a second. Because Kevin Feige's not going to change his story to get an actor in a movie. He's not going to do that. So again, I don't know for a fact that it's not true. I just, in no reality do I believe it at this point. I mean, again, who knows? But I don't personally buy it. All right. Next up, Kay writes, first annual CinemaCon donation. Thank you for that. Con! Use this donation for some snack money. Happy CinemaCon. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. It's always a happy time when I'm in Vegas for CinemaCon, man. It's always a happy time. Thank you, Kay. Next up, we got Captain Kirk 1978, who super chats in $150. Oh my God. Thank you. Seriously, like everybody who decides not just to watch the show, but actually wants to step up and support the show by sending in super chats and tips, whether it's $2 or $50 or whatever. It's amazing. And then every once in a while, people like you come along and tip in like $50 or $100 or $150. It's amazing. Thank you so much for not just being here, but for actually putting your money where your mouth is and support to everybody who does that. But that's incredibly generous of you, Captain Kirk. Thank you so much. What do you have to say? Hi, hope you are enjoying your Vegas vacation. I wouldn't actually call this a vacation. It's a pretty insane, non-stop go, go, go kind of event. Like last night was kind of relaxed because it doesn't start till today. But yeah, it's a pretty insane go, go, go kind of time. Anyway, my birthday was last week, April 2nd, so this is my gift to you. I love getting other people's birthday gifts. It's your birthday? Cool. What did you get me? My favorite kind of birthday. But seriously, happy birthday to you, man. I hope you had a great one last week, so it's severely belated. But again, thank you for supporting us on that level, man. Deeply, deeply appreciate it, especially with CinemaCon being as expensive as it is. Thank you, man. Seriously, deeply. I appreciate that. All right. Wesley Cunningham writes, one of two. Late Night with the Devil may unironically be the best horror film in the last 10 years, possibly an all-timer for me. I hope more like it get wide release. Is there a part 2? Yes. 2. One thing I noticed, kind of chuckled off, was was the 17 studio logos in the beginning. Does CinemaCon help small indies with exposure and securing distribution, or is that mainly festivals? No, CinemaCon has nothing to do with getting distribution, right? CinemaCon is a convention by movie theaters and the distributors coming and showing off their movies to the movie theater owners. So movies already have to have distribution. Remember, CinemaCon is about the studios, who are also the distributors, coming to the movie theater owners to say, this is what we have coming to your theaters this year. To, number one, get the movie theaters excited about their movies. And number two, want to allocate as many screens as possible to their movies and give them as long of a run as they can in their theaters. CinemaCon is not about a small indie film coming to CinemaCon and say, can somebody pick up our movie? That's what film festivals are for. So yeah, CinemaCon is not a film festival. It's a very, very unique, only one of its kind of event that is specifically about movie theater owners and the studios coming to show them what they got. And it's a lot of other stuff too, like a lot of technology companies come and show off new technology to the movie theaters. So hopefully movie theaters will buy their new technology, like strategies, business stuff, all that kind of stuff. But it's all about movie theaters. It's not about indie films trying to get picked up. That's what other events are for. But CinemaCon is very unique in that way. All right, next up, we've got, that was Wesley. Mr. Hank Dunn writes, which studio are you most looking forward to? This year, it's Disney. Other years, it's been others. Like last year was definitely Warner Brothers. This year, it's Disney because of one thing, Deadpool. That's it. That's why. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm super excited about Universal's presentation. I'm very excited about seeing Fall Guy tonight. I'm very excited about the Warner Brothers presentation. I'm very excited about Paramount and Lionsgate and all that stuff. But the one presentation that may have Deadpool stuff in it is the Disney one. And that's why this year, like I said, last year, it was Warner Brothers. The year before that, it was definitely Paramount. But this year, for me, it's Disney, only because of Deadpool. That's it, just Deadpool. And that's the one I'm looking forward to. All right. And I'm sure they'll have other good stuff as well, but that's why. All right, Daniel Vasquez writes, I'm off the plane now. See you later. I guess you're in CinemaCon. I hope you have a good time, man. All right, Christopher Brickner writes, happy solar eclipse day. Again, I didn't see anything. I thought the sky would get a little dark. Nothing happened. Did I miss it? I guess I missed it. All right. Jonathan Schultz writes, do you think that they will keep the old Daredevil intro for Born Again? I love that intro. My guess is no, because it's not Daredevil, even though they have changed their minds and it's not a new Daredevil. Now it is the Daredevil from Netflix. It's still not Daredevil season 4. It's a new show. Same characters, same storylines, all that kind of stuff, but it's a new show, Daredevil Born Again. And it's Daredevil Born Again Season 1. And maybe if they do another season, it'll be Daredevil Born Again Season 2. But it's a new show, so I do not think they'll have the same intro. By the way, I don't like any, except for Peacemaker, I don't like the intros to any shows today. They're all the same. Including the Daredevil one. They're all the same. It seems like every streaming show's intro now is like some abstract, artsy, oh, it's the silhouette of a thing flaking into fiery pieces or ash or grains of sand. Like, they're all the same, except for Peacemaker. Like, I even think the Shogun run is just, I love Shogun. It's the best show on TV. But even the Shogun one is just kind of all the same as everything else. I'm kind of tired of it, to be honest. And I didn't even like the one for Daredevil, even though I love Daredevil. But yeah. All right. Next up, that was Jonathan. Kevin sends in a $20 super chat. Thank you, Kevin, for supporting us on that level, man. Kevin's is a huge supporter of ours. Thank you so much, Kevin. And he writes, so if Fantastic Four is set in an alternate universe, does that mean they don't exist in our main universe? That's my guess. Also, if so, could we get a new cast for our main universe? By the way, my Dune 2 scene is coming along very well. That's good. So my guess, and it's just a guess, is that Fantastic Four does not exist in our universe. Doesn't exist. Just like when Photon goes over to that other alternate universe at the end of the Marvels, Beast does not exist in our universe. Doesn't exist here. Right? I don't think the Fantastic Four exist in our universe. I think, and again, this is just a guess, I think we are going to get a merging of two realities, kind of like they did in the comic books. I think we are going to get a merging of the two realities where the Fantastic Four have only ever been in that universe, which is why no one's ever heard of them in our universe, and they will come into this universe, and maybe the X-Men as well, which would answer the problem about how come no one's ever heard of mutants before? Are you going to take away all their history? Well, no, because if you merge those worlds, now you get all their history and everything. Again, I don't know if that's what they're going to do, but that's my guess. Maybe the Disney presentation will give us a better idea of that as we move forward. Thanks a lot for that, Kevins. All right, next up. Suthius writes, happy belated birthday to Mrs. Campea. It was my wife Anne's birthday this past week. Apparently her and I and Clark Gregg have the same birthday. I myself turned 39. Hope you guys had fun there. We've been having a really good time so far. We had a marvelous party. For Anne's birthday the other day. It was absolutely good. Actually, do you guys mind? I'm going to see if I can share a little video with you. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this or not. Let me check to see if I can. I'm not 100% sure that I will be able to do this, but I'm going to try. Okay, let me see if I can share this to my laptop. See if this goes through. I don't know if it's going to go through or not. And I know this is like somebody sharing their home videos with you. All right, I'm receiving this video. Do you guys mind if okay, I'm gonna show you this little video. This is just a little 30-second video of Anne's party the other night. And just this was the part where we were having dinner. We went all out for Anne's birthday party. So let me see if I can bring this up. Let me try this right now. Okay, let me see. I'm going to try to drag it in here. There it is. We had a cake. This is in our backyard, by the way.
Are you leaving?
Yeah, I forgot to get my
There's Anne standing there. This was her 40th birthday party the other night. This was Saturday. We had hired a little band to come in and play. We had caterers. We had a bartender. And then we did up like, it was an 80s and 90s theme. So a lot of people dressed up in 80s and 90s stuff. And so, yeah. So that was our little birthday party that we had for Anne on Saturday. We had a really good time. And then it went all the way till about 2 in the morning. busted out the karaoke machines. The bar was open. We had a very good time. And most importantly, Anne had a good time. And all of her favorite people, our dearest friends and family were there. Had a really, really good time. So yeah, there was that. So happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to my buddy Clark Gregg. And yeah, there we go. All right. Next up, we go to, who was that? That was Suthius. And happy belated to you, Suthius. PG writes, hey, John, did you watch WrestleMania 40? Again, I did not. Saturday night, we were doing Anne's party. And then last night, we were driving to Vegas, so I did not get a chance to see it. All right. Nbang writes, John, any meetups happening for your fans in Vegas this week? Bring on the filthy. You know what? I feel bad about this. I said about 2 months ago that I would be doing a meetup in Vegas, but between everything that's been going on with work, we're moving out of our studio in a couple of weeks. And with everything going on with Anne's birthday party and with CinemaCon and all that kind of stuff, I totally forgot to set up a meet and greet in Las Vegas. I totally forgot to set one up. So I'm not going to do one this year, but you know, if you see me walking around, by all means, come on up and say hi. I've already had a bunch of people come up and talk to me this week. It's been great to see you. Actually, I ran into Jeremy Johns last night. I was downstairs in Caesars and Jeremy's here. Jeremy comes every year as well. So got to see Jeremy. It's always good to see him and bump into him. Yeah, but I didn't have a chance to set it up. So my apologies to everybody. Next year, 100% we will do a meetup in Las Vegas. We'll do a big meetup in Las Vegas, and I'll make sure that we have it all set up. All right. Next up, Luke1234 writes, are you doing anything special with the studio? Well, we're moving out of it. We're moving out. I mean, I already told our channel members. I told our channel members like over a month ago that we were moving out of the studio at the end of April. And I'll explain to everybody else why. There's a lot of very logical reasons why. But no, not doing anything special. We're just moving out of it. All right. Next up. Super Saiyan 13 writes, hey, John, I finally saw Origin. Origin, the movie. I thought the video game. Okay. Director Ava DuVernay. Highly recommend it. Hard-hitting, emotional, but great movie. Have you seen it? I did. Listen, Ava DuVernay, she did that one. What's the one she did with Oprah? The one based on the book. What was the name of that one again? I'm freezing on the name of it. Somebody in the live chat. What was the name of that movie that she did with her? It was... No, not Selma. Selma was brilliant. Selma's A Wrinkle in Time. Thank you. Cool Made 2000. A Wrinkle in Time. Because that was Ava DuVernay who directed that, is it not? I think it was Ava DuVernay who directed that. Anyway, Selma, unbelievable. So good. A Wrinkle in Time was quite bad. But it was also one of those books that a lot of people considered for many years was just completely unfilmable. And I thought Ava DuVernay did a very good job, as good of a job as was possible to do with A Wrinkle in Time. That's a difficult one to do, but it was not very good. But then a lot of people who haven't seen Ava DuVernay's other work kind of said, oh, well, then that Ava DuVernay's not a good director. She's a remarkable director. She's really good. And that it's just, she just keeps proving it, man. She just keeps proving it over and over again. All right. Next up, Bobby Jackson writes, if Marvel doesn't move forward with Eternals 2, do you think they'll wrap up the story in a different film, like a Star-Lord movie, for instance, or maybe just canon animated series? I personally do think they will do Eternals 2. I think Kevin Feige is very invested in Eternals. And whereas Bob Iger may not be really keen on doing an Eternals 2, he will give that decision to Kevin Feige. He will let Kevin Feige make that decision. That's the difference between Bob Iger and Bob Chapek. I think he will try to talk Kevin Feige out of it, but I think Kevin Feige, and listen, I really like I don't like Eternals as much as Rob does. Rob thinks it's like one of the greatest. But I quite enjoy Eternals. I think it's good. I would love to see them do another one, and I think they will do another one. I don't know that for sure, but I think that they will do another one. We'll see. All right. Thanks for that, Bobby. Jamro writes, I think Galactus won't be a villain. He will be working with the Fantastic Four to prevent the incursion. They end up in the 616 at the end of the movie. I don't... Listen, you might be right. You could be right. I don't see them doing a team up with Galactus. I don't. I do believe there's going to be an incursion, and that reality will merge in with what is our MC reality, also known as the 616. But I have a very difficult time, again, not impossible, but I have a very, very difficult time seeing them teaming up with Galactus. I don't think. I think it's more likely that they team up with Doom in their reality to do that. Because remember, one of the great things about Doctor Doom, he's not one of these villains of, I want to destroy the world. You know, he wants power, but he needs the Earth to exist and be safe and be prosperous for him to rule. So I could see them teaming up with the Doctor Doom. I can't see them teaming up with Galactus again, but that doesn't mean you're wrong. You could be right. Let's see. All right. Dr. Stinky writes, hey, do you think a new Deadpool trailer could come out? Well, yeah, there will be a couple more Deadpool trailers. Or do you mean like come out at CinemaCon? Here's what I'm expecting, and I could be wrong. Listen, Deadpool is still, we're April, May, June, July. Deadpool is still 3 months away. I think it is too soon to put out a second trailer. I wouldn't expect a second trailer for at least another month. That's my guess. I'm just guessing. So I think it's too soon for a second trailer. What I am expecting is that they will show us like 15 to 30 minutes of the movie on Thursday. I think they'll show us 15 to 30 minutes of it. I don't know that they will, but that's my guess. But I'm not expecting a new trailer. Again, just a little too soon for a new trailer right now. All right. Thanks, Dr. Stinky. Next up, Christopher Brickner writes, Planet of the Apes footage from Disney, 100%. 100%. I think we're going to get a good 10, 15 minute look at the new Planet of the Apes, and I cannot wait to tell you guys about whatever it is we see. All right, next up, Alec Andrew writes, will they screen Beetlejuice? Nah. I'll be honest, I don't have a lot of interest in Beetlejuice. I hope it's great, but right now I don't have a lot of interest in it. But no, I'm not expecting them to screen Beetlejuice. All right, Morgan Plant. Final question of the day comes us from Morgan Plant, who writes, do you think we could see a teaser trailer for Gladiator 2? Yes, 100%. Like, we'll definitely get footage. I think there's a good possibility we're going to get the first teaser trailer for Gladiator 2 here this week. Seen as it had a big statue at CinemaCon, or will it be for attendees only? That's a secondary question. Yeah, I shared on social media. Let's see if I can bring up this picture here. One of the very first things I saw when we got to CinemaCon, I'll send this over to my computer here so I can show it to you guys. One of the very first things that we saw when we got here was this image. Let me see if I can grab it. There we go. This is in Caesar's Palace. And let me see if I can scale this so you guys can see it. I transform, fit to screen. There we go. So in the lobby of Caesar's Palace is these big statues, and they had attached to them these, what we do in life echoes in eternity. Gladiator 2, only in theaters later this year. So that was a part of what they were showing us. I think they'll definitely show us some footage. They may even show us a teaser trailer. My guess, and it's just a guess, is that if they do show us a teaser trailer, I don't think it's a teaser that they will release publicly. I think it will be only a teaser trailer for those of us at CinemaCon. And then maybe that teaser trailer will be released in a couple of months. The movie's just too far away. So, but you never know. They could. Maybe they do. Maybe they do. And all right, guys, that's all the questions that I have from you. Actually, you know what? I'm going to take a couple minutes. I'm just going to go over to the live chat and see if there's any interesting questions you guys have in the live chat. I'll look over to the live chat, see if you guys have anything you want to ask me. Go ahead and fire that in as I take another sip. Now, just remember, later tonight, it will be late tonight, like around 10 p.m. LA time, 1 a.m. East Coast time. We're going to do our little report after watching. But you know what? Maybe I'll just do an out of theater reaction for Fall Guy. You know what? That's what we're going to do. We're just going to do an out of theater reaction for Fall Guy. We won't do it live because it's too late. There, I just made an executive decision. We will not do a live stream tonight. We will do a live stream. We'll start live streaming tomorrow. Tonight, we'll just do an out of theater reaction for Fall Guy. That's what we'll do tonight. So, okay. Let's see. Dr. Stinky writes, question, are you still doing the garage sale? Yes. So we're moving out of our studio at the end of April, and there's going to be a bunch of stuff that we don't need. So like a day or two before we move out, we're going to announce the actual address of where our studio is, and we're going to invite people to come. We're going to have a garage sale. So if anybody wants to come and take a piece of memorabilia of the John Campea studio when it was there, you guys, if you live in the LA area, you can come on down and pick up something if you want. Jedediah Elias saying, what do you think will have the biggest pop at CinemaCon this year? Well, you know what I'm going to say. I think it's going to be anything having to do with Deadpool 3. I think anything to do with the Deadpool 3. Kareem V is saying, do you think there'll be another Moana 2 trailer at CinemaCon? No, it's still too early. The movie doesn't come out until like December. So I don't think they'll be ready to have anything to show us at this point. Let's see. The Richard writes, is there ever one day that is known to be better than others? Perhaps bigger events? Sorry, Richard, I don't know what it is you're asking. Sorry about that. Let's see. Somar writes, can you leak some Thunderbolts footage for us? Call Kevin to give it to your clip. Yeah, no, we can't do that. I mean, listen, if somebody slips me some Thunderbolt footage, maybe I'll put it out. But I'm not going to take out my camera and film stuff in a theater. I have a big problem with that. I'll never do that. Let's see. Somebody's asked me, am I selling Ray? No, I'm not selling Ray. Somebody's saying, I'd love God of War still coming. Yeah, but that's going to be a TV show, so they're not going to talk about God of War at CinemaCon at all. Let's see. Allie is asking, do you think we get a Deadpool 3 trailer publicity this Thursday? No, again, like I just answered that. I personally think it's too soon for a trailer 2. The movie's still 3 months away. So I think it's a little bit too early for that. Culture Healers writes, Jonathan Majors sentencing. Yeah, so for those who didn't hear, Jonathan Majors got his sentencing, and it's exactly what I thought. He's sentenced to like 1 year counseling and probation and stuff like that. He's got to take counseling and therapy and whatever, and it's going to be probation. He was a first-time offender. He wasn't going to get any jail time. I mean, the stuff he was found guilty of could have carried up to 1 year in prison. But we've said, everybody's known, he wasn't going to get any jail time. I mean, it's just that he was found on the lesser charges and it was a first offense and really didn't think he was going to get any jail time. So I think it was appropriate what he got, like 1 year therapy, counseling, probation. I think that's all perfectly acceptable. All right, guys, with that, CinemaCon, it has begun. Anybody know that reference? Come on, somebody in the live chat. It has begun. Give me the reference. See if I'm going to give you guys like 10. I know there's like a 10-second delay. I'm going to see if any of you guys know it. Somebody's saying, yes, I know it. Don't just say yes. There it is. Rick Alfonso is the first one to get it. Mortal Kombat. It has begun. Very good. I'm very proud of you. Very proud of you, Rick. That's a good one that you called it out. All right, guys. So keep your eyes open on the channel later tonight. We will have our out-of-theater reaction for Fall Guy. I'm very excited about this movie. And then all the full panels and everything start tomorrow. We're going to be doing live streams every day. Some days we're going to be 2 of them. Keep your eyes open. Guys, thank you so much for being here and joining me today for this little open mic. Good to have you guys here. And big special thank you to all you guys who sent in the questions. Both sending them in on the tip link, using super chats, Number one, because you gave us fun things to talk about today. And number two, you supported our channel as you do it. And we're really glad that you do, because it's really effing expensive to come to CinemaCon. So thank you for your support, guys. All right, we'll talk to you guys again later. My name's John Campea. And until then, my friends, I was going to say bye-bye, but can I do that? Yes. Bye-bye.